I didn't have a very clear idea what I wanted to talk about tonight. I have little pieces, little odds and ends of things. So before I get into my little odds and ends, I'd like to ask first if any of you have any kind of question or anything you'd like to talk about. Mm-hmm.
I have a question I've been meaning to ask. I would ask.
He's ready.
So when somebody works out physically, they recommend that occasionally they take what they call a skip day to let their muscles feel it. Is there such a thing with meditation as well?
I have heard Bhante Sujata say that sometimes he's recommended to people that they maybe back off a little bit. But just if they're a little bit too intense, maybe their nature is a little bit too intense, or they're pushing a little bit too much, and so I've heard him say, just give it a rest. Maybe don't meditate so much every day for a while. Ordinarily, we encourage to develop a regular practice, so that would be every day. But what do the two of you think? You've probably had. So the question is, do you think the same way if you exercise, you need to take a day off once in a while? Is that sometimes the same way? Would you ever recommend to someone that maybe they skip a day or in their meditation? So just keep doing it. Yeah. I think the times that I've heard Bhante talk about maybe someone should take a little break is if they're trying too hard, that they're sort of, it's become a competition or it's become a little bit, maybe they just need to relax. And so maybe how they have to do it. So I don't think he was talking about don't meditate, but just in a certain situation.
In Pali, Nivarana means that parting bothering our spiritual journey. What are they? Sensory side, guilty, and slow and thought, and restlessness, and also doubt. When we have this one parting center, we are going to exhaust that. Then we are thinking, oh, I'm tired. Now, this time is not good for the meditation. Sometimes people are thinking, during the Buddha's time, one of the monks, during the meditation time, he was speaking. Then Buddha will bring him and I see. They think Buddha is better. This is how to believe. That's why I sleep like that. Then Buddha, taught him how to stay. There is a beautiful discourse in 135 for Vachalarati. Sometimes we have that time. Then we are thinking, this is to start to do something. It's not. If you want to be, if you want to develop your good mind, it's that. You have to be
different kind of muscles, right? So that's a good question. Anybody else? Mary?
Well, I just want to comment that I think even really good habits, you can get attached to it, you can get rigid about things. That's what, for myself, I have to watch that. Like, there might be a day, there's just a day that I don't practice meditation, and it's like important for me to accept that and be all right with it, and not think, oh, I do meditate, I whole day's gonna be screwed, like, because then you're rigid about it.
Right.
So, I think it's hard with good habits not to get rigid, for me, it is.
Well, especially if it becomes kind of just a ritualized exercise. You're not really trying to work with your mind. You're just putting in the making it look right, but it's not essentially there. Yeah. And maybe Westerners, or maybe Bhante Sujatha has mentioned that, because Westerners might try to, we might be a little bit more eager to do that. That might be more the way we are. That's a good point too. Anything that becomes dogma or ritualized too much, then it loses. There's no quality of meditation in it. Yeah.
I think with physical exercise, you get a release of endorphins, and it makes you feel good. And when you stop doing it for 2 or 3 days, then you miss that high that you get from exercise. I'm wondering if the mind meditating is the same way. You release chemicals that make it pleasurable. And so after 2 or 3 days of not doing it, you have that addiction and you want to go back to do it again, as opposed to the physical environment where you have that. You want that high back again from exercise.
Well, I don't know. I'm sure that endorphins are released in our brains when we are relaxed and meditating. But I don't remember a lot of the brain stuff. But I'm sure there's a chemical thing that's really good that happens. Yeah, who's that? Sherry.
Yeah, and a lot of the books we have in the library, like Deepak and other yogis can hook your brain up and definitely improves that relaxation. It does something to the chemicals in your brain, like proven scientifically. In the Buddha brain book, we read that.
Yeah, the Buddha's brain would be the one I'd recommend.
You
Richard,
do it all the time, you don't, and you're
which
like,
is Hansen.
feels so good, you have to do it. So I think that you never use the word endorphins, but it does. It's a chemical aimed at
Yeah, there's a lot of good material about that. The Buddha's brain probably might be the clearest.
I think we will all experience dry periods, but nature teaches us, early on in our practice, say in a fruit tree, the flower appears, which would be the change in our direction and such, where we feel such an elation. But remembering that the flower must drop before the fruit appears, so that, that lightheartedness of meditation, where you're not having to systematically train yourself. That's when the fruit will appear.
That's a nice image. The flower has to fall off before the fruit appears. I like that. Yeah. It's kind of exciting at first and sort of interesting and new, and then it's easy to it becomes like, well, what am I doing? It's boring, or nothing exciting's happening. That's a good image. Thank you. Anybody else have a question? Then I can talk about what I want to talk about. No, those are really good questions. So the consensus should be, we just keep meditating, and we all are going to be. There are going to be times when we get busy and we can't do it, but it's good if we know that the habit we're trying to develop is that regularity. And yeah, the flower will drop off. I wanted to talk about a teacher who's coming. Is it in January the 9th, that Samahita Thera is coming? And it's just a little blip in our calendar, so it's on a Wednesday night. But that's a big deal, I think. I mean, do you know him? Did you ever hear? He lives in Sri Lanka. He's a Westerner. He's from Denmark. He's Danish. And he doesn't come here very often. I don't know. But he lives in a remote area north of Kandy in Sri Lanka. But he has a YouTube. What do you call them? What are YouTube? If you have a YouTube thing, is it a pro? He has a channel. Okay, that's the word that came to mind, but I thought that. Okay, he has a YouTube channel. And I've listened and watched him for years, and he's a wonderful photographer. And his things are primarily videos of him like walking through the jungle or walking around where he lives, and then he finds a spot and sits there. They're brief, but they're always an interesting teaching. And his name is Samahita, and Thera means he's like a senior monk. He was a doctor in Denmark, and then he discovered the Buddhist teachings and got really involved in those. So lately he's been back in Denmark, and he's probably 60 in his 60s. Lately he's been back in Denmark taking care of his aging father, but he's coming to North America, and he's going to do a 10-day retreat at Heartwood Retreat Center, which is in North Carolina. And the abbess there is Ayapanyawati, who's been here before, actually several times. And she and a monk named Panyadeepa have turned an old southern resort into a retreat center, and they actually have residents living there, as well as people coming for retreats. But Bhante Samahita is coming and doing a 10-day retreat, and then I guess while he's still in the country, we have him Wednesday night, January the 9th. And he's at the Theosophical Society the next night, I think, around the same period. And the topic he has there is called Early Buddhist Teachings, Astrophysics, and something. You know, I saw the title and I thought, some people had put it up like, this looks interesting. And I thought, why does that sound so familiar? And then I looked and saw it was him. So he's going to be at the Theosophical Society. But he'll be here. And I really encourage you. I've never met him in person, but for years I've listened to him and have watched his YouTube channel, and he's always interesting. And he has a beautiful voice, perfect English, but he has done some translating, and he has a really deep knowledge of the suttas and the Buddha's teachings, and his mind is very scientific. So he would be a great person to ask the question about the what kind of chemicals in the brain. And I mean, he's a scientist by trade, but a very interesting person. And more and more people he's actually trying to, where he is pretty remote, but he's more and more doing retreats there and having people come for 10-day retreats. So I would love to go to the one in North Carolina, but it's not the time isn't right for me. But I'm so happy we're having him here. So be sure you come. If that's your regular night, keep coming. And I'm sure it'll be a longer presentation than we usually have. But I think he'll be very interesting. So I really want to pump that. I just saw it on the calendar and I thought, who's this? Don't know that person. And then I realized who it was, so I'm very excited about it. Invite someone to come with you. It'll be a different kind of teaching it won't be like anything that anybody here does.
Which day of the week is it?
It's on a Wednesday.
Okay.
And since he's probably in the area, and he may be in the country for a while. I don't know where else he's going. I haven't looked at his calendar. And then I'm assuming he'll go back either to Denmark or to Sri Lanka. So I'm assuming he'll be kind of a character, but a very wise person too. So that's one thing I wanted to share. The other is, how many of you have been to our New Year? We call it our New Year's chanting, blessing chanting. It's on. So not a whole lot of you. Well, that's coming up. And for me, that's one of my favorite things that we do, because it's very simple, but it's really powerful. And that's coming up on the 15th, which is a Saturday. Not this coming Saturday, but the next. And it goes from 4 to about 7. Part of that is the refreshments and the just kind of socializing that we do downstairs after the program. That's our holiday event. So we don't do Christmas, but we do the end of the year blessings. So we have the monks will build a gazebo, and they're incredible to just see, to experience the gazebo. And we invite, usually we have 12 to 15 monks. They're always nice in the announcements and say, we invite monks and nuns, but I'm always the only nun. Years ago, Aya Sudarshana would come sometimes, but she's in Florida. She doesn't get out. She goes back and forth to California and other places, but not much up in the Midwest. So the monks come from all over, mostly from the Midwest and sometimes Canada, and they chant. There's chanting for about an hour. The monastics sit inside the gazebo, and there's always some really beautiful chanting and solo voices, where one monk is like the solo and the other monastics come in at certain parts. And are you going to be the solo person this year? Are you going to be? Oh, no. They're both good chanters, so. But it's really lovely. So what you do when you're listening to it is you can just sit and meditate to that. And just, it's like an hour's meditation. And it is really wonderful to meditate to the chanting, because you can really just kind of feel yourself let go into it. And we do that, and then if people bring objects that they'd like to have blessed, sometimes there's a stuffed animal or a picture or a piece of jewelry or a watch, a mala bracelet. We collect those, and we put them in a big basket, and it's on a table inside the gazebo. So the items are just blessed with that good energy that's coming from the chanting that's being done, and the Pali that's being, the words, and just the good, I guess saying good juju is not that sort of mixing voodoo with Buddhism is probably, but it's just a good, then those things, I think that's just a wonderful thing to do with something. And then when you wear that item, or if you have a little stuffed animal, or a kid does, they can just look at that and think about, oh, that picked up all that good stuff from the chanting. So that's a good reminder. And at the end of it, people can get. We usually give the bracelets. People can do a blessing bracelet, and then we have a get together downstairs, and that's a good time to meet people that maybe a lot of people you don't know who come to the temple. It's a really good time to just chat and And the important thing I wanted to mention, because we haven't done it recently, we have sign-up sheets again, which is what's always been our custom. Then we got away from those for a while, but the sign-up sheets are on that, are down right below the bulletin board. And we have sign-up sheets for people to help set up and to help take down, and people who want to just maybe make coffee or help out with the things. It's if a lot of people sign up, it's not a lot of work to do, because it's mostly, we have a sign-up sheet for people to bring cookies or finger foods, just little things to nibble, crackers, cheese, veggie trays, and drinks, water. We always have coffee and tea. But it's a really nice early evening, because we're finished with the chanting is over by, I'd say the whole program is over by 5:30, and the rest of the time is just enjoying each other's company. And that might be the last time before New Year's that you're here at the temple. But especially if you've never been, but those of you who have been, do you enjoy it? Yeah, Mary,
Yeah, and I just want to mention that you also have that beautiful ceremony of bathing.
Oh, the baby Buddha, yeah.
And so you go up in pairs and you pour water over a small Buddha statue in a bowl, and you're really letting go of the old year and welcoming what you want for the new. So it's nice to stand in line and think about what I want to go around. I found it really inspiring.
That's a nice little ceremony, isn't it? And that's done in other different ethnic temples, but we started doing it not too many years ago, but we've done it several now. And there's a small Buddha in a almost looks like a fountain, but there are a lot of rose petals. And the tradition is that you take a big scoop and everybody gets to pour water over the Buddha. And it's just a beautiful time to set your intentions for the year, or just like Mary said, just kind of wash away whatever you want to wash away and welcome in, because the water is such a sign of purity and life. So everybody who wants to do it at the end, I think we do it at the end, and then people just walk on out to go downstairs to the party. Is sort of it's not really a big fancy party, but it's a really fun time to get together with each other, especially if everybody brings great things to snack on. That ceremony at the end really is lovely. It's very touching to me, and so we've incorporated it in. And it is just a ceremony. It's not. There's nothing like sacred to it, but it's very meaningful. So yeah, thank you for remembering that. So it's just what do you think, Sherry? What's your feedback about it?
Really, it feels really good. It's a really good way to end the year, and it's beautiful. And you taste them, and then you get the bracelet, and then you find your outfit.
Uh-huh.
And never quite like it.
Yeah.
And you feel the sound vibrations, all the months chanting, you benefit from all that sound healing.
It is sound healing. Yeah, there's a lot of sound, and it's good, right? And we have just our monks are really good chanters, and then the others who come, there's some pretty incredible voices in the whole group. So please try to see if your schedule allows you to come to that. And even if you have to come late, or you can only stay for part of it, we usually have a pretty good sized group. And the Saturday earlier, right after the Saturday morning service, which we still have regular service, but the setup crew takes about 10 minutes, right? Because there are a lot of people who will stay, and we just move the cushions back so we have mostly chairs. So we just want to have space here for the bathing the. We don't have a baby Buddha, but we have a little Buddha. We had a baby one year, Some temples, I mean, they have the little Buddha. He's like brand new baby, but he wears robes, and he's like John Travolta. You know, he's sort of doing. I always think of he's just kind of a disco Buddha. So that's something that I think you would love it, and it's a good way to begin the holiday and to end the year. What else? Those are the little snippets that I wanted to talk about. So, thank you.